Hey everyone, do I have a special video for you today? Or at least it is very special to me. You see, growing up I did have more video game systems than just a CDI. Even though I cannot shut up about that one, I did have more, and in fact CDI was one of my least favorite systems, believe it or not. So one of which was the NES, of course, which many kids had, and you all probably have heard about before, it's not that rare. So yeah, I had that, and stupid me at some point gave it away since I had moved on to better things like the PlayStation. That's crap. Well, it's not crap, it's excellent stuff, but you know, I regretted that choice ever since. I was gutted at some point. Wow, why did I give away my whole NES collection? Really sad. I'm sure that many of you who have gotten rid of some old gaming stuff, or actually some old toys, know exactly how that feels eventually. So I gave it away luckily to some relatives. Unfortunately we lost contact, but contact has been established and they still had the NES stashed away in the attic and I could have it back. So I got it back. Isn't it awesome? I mean, I got an NES at some point again, but it just wasn't the same. But this is my actual NES as I used as a child. It's all the games, the stuff and everything that I, you know, hold like say 10, 12 years ago, and you know, it's just amazing. And this is the exact NES that my parents bought me about 20 years ago, so it's so cool to have this back. Welcome back, Nessie. So yeah, let's just check out what stuff I had. I mean, I have more games for it nowadays, but you know, I'm not going to go over those since I don't even know where they are. This is just my old stuff, my old original collection, and we're going to check this out. And you know, you might find it interesting. I'm not gonna lie, it might be a boring video, but whatever. It's very important for me, and I like to show this great moment for me at least. So first off, we have the NES itself, of course. By the way, I'm probably going to do this in two parts since there's a lot of games in there, and you know, I don't want to drag it out in one video. So the NES unit itself, and as you can see, it's just in excellent shape. I did need to clean it since it was rather dusty, but other than that, it's in excellent condition. It works perfectly too. No errors when you switch it on or anything. I never had that actually. I never had to blow in a carton or whatever. There's also no yellowing, which is pretty awesome. So yeah, I tested it. It works excellently, just great. And ooh, listen to that nice squeaky sound. I love it. What else do we have? Well, we have this big beast, which is my power supply. This is not an original one. My original one broke at some point. And you know, we had this little switch box as a replacement, which I'm getting rid of now since I was using another NES adapter, since you know, that's the same thing to do. What else do we have? Of course we have the little RF thing. Where is it? Oh, there it is. It went under the zapper. The little RF switch thingy, which I also don't use now, of course, since we moved on to better things like AV, which, you know, is already surpassed now, but whatever, it's still better than RF. Plus RF I cannot capture. And of course the good old zapper. In Europe we only got the orange ones, by the way. We never got the grey ones as far as I know. Not sure if it works, haven't tested it, don't have a CRT screen to test it on. But I only have Duck Hunt and I don't see myself playing that anytime soon, to be honest, so whatever. I have two control pads, just the standard ones. Both don't work. So that's great. Luckily I have some spares too of that, since I do have another NES system. One of which the control pad doesn't work at all and feels very loose, like the contacts are just totally severed or something, I don't know. I'm going to open it up and see if I can fix it. And the other one kind of works. I guess with some cleaning it will work perfectly, but just the up direction and left direction need a lot of force to actually register, even though it pushes down fine. But yeah, not sure what's up. I think when you clean it out it will work again. But oh well, that's for later. Now on to the games, and I'm going to show a little footage of the games as we go over them. I got a decent lot of them, but they are kind of interesting since, for one, I got the NES pretty late in its life cycle, so I have some pretty late games for the system. My cousin also had an NES, and we kind of had this agreement where we wouldn't do doubles, and we lived pretty close to each other, so it was no problem to go over and play games that you liked on his system and he on my system. And we would trade games very often, where we just swapped games for a bit. As soon as he got a game, I wouldn't go out and get that anymore, since I could pretty much play it anytime I wanted anyway, so why would I? And vice versa. Now, he was a bit more spoiled than me in it that he got the better games before me most of the time, so I was left with more cheaper games, which was perfectly fine with my parents, to be honest. I also got some games from the rental store and rented a lot of games when it was still possible. Oh boy, the good old days. I wish you could still do that, since it's an excellent way to just test out the game. But over here you cannot do that anymore, which sucks. So anyway, let's just go over games. I had these hard plastic boxes to store them in. Most games had still have the manual in there. Yeah, let's go over. First one is Yoshi's Cookie. This one is kind of interesting, since I got this from my mother, who was very much into puzzle games. And we had Dr. Mario and Tetris, and we'll find Tetris later on. And we were playing, and she was kind of fed up with the same old, and me too, of course, since I was always eager to push for new games. And I looked up some other puzzle games, and one of which was Yoshi's Cookie, and I find it a really fun puzzle game. Doesn't get a lot of attention, but I find it's pretty cool. Unfortunately, Wario Woods wasn't out at the time yet, so I don't have that one. But Yoshi's Cookie is a good substitute. Even though every time you play it, you get a craving for cookies, but what are you gonna do? Next up we have, also with manual, Blaster Master. Well, most of you probably have heard of this one, since it's a pretty popular game. It has awesome music, as per Sunsoft standards, and it's an excellent game. Platforming, shooter, it's awesome. I like it, but it totally kicks my ass. Never beat it. Should make it a project to sometimes beat that game, since I do like it, but it was just too hard for me. It probably still is. But I'm going to try it anyway. Next up is DuckTales 2. Now, my cousin had DuckTales 1, and so I got the second game. Not sure which I would call better, since both have things that I really like, and I find the second one is also an excellent game and just fun to play through. Yeah, the first one is probably slightly better, but I find them both excellent games and enjoy playing them both occasionally. Next up we have, there's an interesting one for the US viewers, since this never got released in the US, I believe. Aladdin for the NES. Now, you might think that this was actually created by Capcom, since they did a lot of Disney NES titles, and they also made the SNES Aladdin. But this is actually made by Virgin Interactive and is a port of the Sega Mega Drive version, or Genesis if you're in the States. On the one hand, it's pretty impressive, since they got a lot of Genesis Mega Drive game in there for an NES game. On the other hand, it sucks since it looks like garbage. The graphics got a real big hit and it just looks awful. The animation is pretty impressive though, but it's all brown and blah. But it plays alright, and it's yeah, it's not very interesting, but it's interesting that it never got released, and it was one of the final games for the system. Another interesting game, especially for the US viewers, since this was also a POL exclusive as far as I know, Crackout. And man, I love this game. I'm not sure why it's not mentioned more list for favorite games, since this is actually a great game. It's a Breakout or more like Arkanoid clone, but it's so well done and fun to play. The thing of the game that sets it apart, really sets it apart, is the option to go to a dwarf world, which is considerably harder. But yeah, if you get the chance to get that game, then please do, since it's an awesome game. It's amazing. Next, the worst cover ever, probably, since it only shows some boots. Low G-Man. But covers can be deceiving, and this is also one of the games that many people skipped out on, probably for the cover. I don't blame them, but it's actually a pretty sweet game. You basically, it's a platformer. That guy can jump, by the way. I mean, Low G-Man, there's no kidding there. You have some power-ups, and he can literally jump stories high. It's ridiculous. And you go around with your freeze gun and freeze enemies, and you stab them on the head afterwards. It's not the hardest game, but man, is it fun to play, and the music is pretty catchy too. Next up is another pretty cool game, which not many people got to play, Isolated Warriors. Warrior, actually. It's an isometric shooter, which, the NES didn't have a lot of anyway. And yeah, it just plays fine. It's hard as hell eventually. The later stages are freaking hard. There's a lot of holes to jump into, which of course I'm an expert in. Some hold secret levels. So, being such a player does sometimes pay off. But, it's an awesome game. Check it out if you have the chance. Next up is Paperboy 2. I remember playing Paperboy 1 as a rental, and I liked that, so we got Paperboy 2. And I actually think Paperboy 1 is the better game, but it's still fun to play. Nothing special, and I don't have the manual for that one. Not sure why that went. Next up, Lolo 2. Now this is also an excellent puzzle, puzzle game. It's pretty much a puzzle game. It gets very hard eventually. You really need to use your brain for this one. On how to beat the levels, but it's kind of hard to explain. You can kind of kick a cubicle, sort of, but different. It's a great game, and Lolo 1 was great too, but I don't own that one. Only rented that one. Next up is Fighting Golf, which surprisingly has a surprisingly little amount of fighting in it. But as a golf game, it's a pretty good game. It's one of the rare SNK games that was released on the NES. Another one off the top of my head was what's it called? I don't know. Screw it. Fighting Golf. Great golf game. Next up is Wrecking Crew. A early Mario game when he was still a carpenter, and this tells the tale of when he got fed up being a carpenter and went on a wrecking spree and destroyed everything he ever created to become a plumber. Alright, I'm lying, I don't know what the story is, but it's an interesting game in it that it has a pretty cool little design option where you can, a level editor, and that's pretty cool for its time. I had a lot of fun with that. And otherwise, it's an alright game, nothing too special, but for a Black Label game, it's pretty good. Most of Black Label's games were pretty basic, as you all know. Next up is Disney's Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers. Now, I love the series and I love this game. It's such a great game to play, especially in two-player. Just a fun cooperative game. It's very easy, I'll admit, but it's just fun to go through with a buddy. Next up we have, what do we have? We have Tetris. Already mentioned this one. It's Tetris. What do I need to tell about Tetris? It's awesome. You all know about Tetris. And if you don't, then I'm sorry, but something's wrong with you. Next up is NES Open, and this has a bit of a big manual which is folded in there, but it's the second golf game that I got, and I guess it's the first time Mario went on to doing sports. I'm not sure actually if that's true, but it's the first one I got, and it's really it's a great golf game actually. It's fun. Enjoyed it very much with my father actually. We played that a ton. Fighting golf too, by the way. Well, that's this stack of games, I think. Yes, I got another stack, but I'm going to leave that for the next video, so see you there.